Good evening. As you can see, it is, if you look at my Timex Iron Man, you can see it is 3 a.m. The witching hour has begun. So, I wanted to get this video out. We better get on with it. As you can see, we have a Ouija board, a Stranger Things Ouija board. And what does this have to do with wargaming? Well, tell you, we're gonna get this out, and we're gonna ask you what we should discuss on the wargaming scene this week, right? So you can see Hopper here, and ages 14 plus. Wow, it's crazy to think that you can just be 14 years old and be trusted to handle the spirit world. And it's Netflix proudly put there, and it's from Hasbro Gaming. Doesn't sound too spiritual to me, but let's look at it here. It says, turn your world upside down. Grab your friends and gather around the Ouija board. Ask questions about the strange events that rocked the town of Hawkins, Indiana in 1983. Maybe an otherworldly power from the upside down or the spirit of Barb is listening. Oh, well, let's see now. Let's get to it. It's no shrink wrap. That's why I got enough. I'm going to have to put this up pretty soon because it could be dangerous. As you can see, this board does not light up. I don't know why it wouldn't light up. It certainly could if it was the spirits we were looking, but okay. Let me keep an open mind. So, no shrink wrap. So that's odd. No shrink wrap. Maybe the spirits would get out without shrink wrap? I don't know. Let's open it up and take a look, and we'll see if we can close that enough up so I'm not hurt. So, we can see if a spirit will see us. And wow, what do we have here? Oh, we have heed these warnings. Never use Ouija board if you don't believe in the upside down. Well, I believe in the upside down thoroughly. Never use the Ouija board near Hawkins National Laboratory. Well, since it's a fictional place, so as much as we think, well, I'm not going to do that. Nowhere near Indiana. So, never use the Ouija board. Never use the Ouija board alone. Have your best buddies around. Well, that's why I have y'all here while I'm doing it on YouTube here. Never leave the planchette in the Ouija board when you aren't using it. Oh, wonder why. Never forget to say goodbye to any otherworldly powers. All right, so assemble the planchette. Well, here's the planchette. It's not a symbol. Well, I guess not. Oh no, we have a. So we're gonna put this in. All right, we have the glass or the plastic in the planchette there. Let's see what else under here. Well, of course, we're gonna have to break these apart. These will be the feet for the planchette. It's very important you put the feet in, I understand, as we're talking to spirits. All right, so I could give you an extra foot there, if you will, on that sprue. Give you a sprue. So let's put this in here. All right, and now it is a symbol. I believe that is that. Right? It's a symbol, yeah. Begin your quest. Gently place the planchette in the center of the Ouija board. We call this Ouija in Spanish. Gather closely around the board and try to be chill. Each player place 2 fingers lightly on the planchette. Well, let us see here. Let's see this board. What this board's about. Well, whoa! Look at the back of there. Wood grain, nice 70s look, but it is thoroughly cardboard. Hard to believe that this. What is that? 11 by 17 board. Alrighty, let's get this on here. Let's get this thing heated up. So we'll ask what we should ask you, right? All right, lightly put a couple of fingers on it. All right, let's see here. What should we talk about? Should we talk about a wargame designer? Well, oh, great spirits, let me know. That doesn't seem to be working. All right. Should we talk about a game? Let's see if we can heat it up. Okay, that doesn't seem to be working either. Should we unbox a game? Well, let's see here. Let me see. What am I doing wrong? It is 3:05. Still well within the witching hour. Maybe I should just put one hand on. Should we play a game? Well, this seems to be broke. I'm gonna have to take my Ouija board back to the store, ask for my refund, because it looks broke to me. And that reminds me of the battle card system in We the People. It was just as broke. No, not really. I'm joking. It's kind of a joke, right? But I do want to talk about what appears to be witchcraft when we're looking back in retrospect. We the People. This is the beginning of what we think of as the card-driven game, all right? And it's a flawed masterpiece. I use that term a lot of times to talk about many games that have flaws, but that are great games. And this would be one of those. It was put out by the Avalon Hill Game Company in 1993, I believe, designed by Mr. Mark Herman. Now, Mark Herman will tell you, when he was designing the game, he wasn't looking to design the card-driven system, right? He wasn't looking to bring about another war game revolution. And that's, no pun intended, that is exactly what happened. It's an interesting thing. You know, you have very few things within the wargaming hobby that you can say actually were revolutionary, right? The hex, that was totally revolutionary, and that, maybe we'll talk about that sometime. Solitaire play, revolutionary. That's from the Fall of Rome. Revolutionary when solitaire play with a solitaire system came about, right? There are others. If you want to discuss D&D, we can discuss that. But in the last 30 years, this was the most revolutionary thing to happen to games. To the war game hobby was the card-driven genre, in my opinion, right? So what happened was, Mark Herman's told the story. He said Eric Dott asked him to design a simple game on the American Revolution. And he did that, and he said he had a game that was akin to something like 1776, right? And the problem with a lot of those Revolutionary War games before We the People, most of them really, were that they were sort of Napoleonic in nature, right? You kind of played them like a Napoleonic game, and the American Revolution was nothing Napoleonic to it. There was just so much forest, so they just didn't have those big fields that Europe did. It was just completely different. And Mark Herman had designed a game that was along those same lines, and he did some more research and realized that the American Revolution was just a series of fights, a series of skirmishes, if you will. And so he redesigned the game, and to make it, he designed a new game, that is, and to make it, there's the battle cards, there's the chits or pieces, and to make it as simple as possible, he used cards to incorporate rules, right? So that's European War card. These are event cards, right? Norse government falls, Norse government falls, Norse government falls. Thomas Paine publishes Common Sense for Modern Man. If you haven't read it, even if you're not an American, you should read that, along with his other great work, The Age of Reason. Right? So the thing about and you played with a deck. You played with hand of cards against your opponent. And like I said, even the battle cards, you did use a die for, what was that, initiative, I think? But if we look at it, we're going to look at sequence of play. You got your reinforcements phase. You got your deal strategy cards. Each player is dealt 7 strategy cards. If the strategy deck, that's what we're talking about these here, obviously. What became card-driven cards, if you will. Each player dealt 7 strategy cards. If the strategy deck runs out before each player receives 7 cards, shuffle the discard pile, place in the strategy box, and deal out remaining cards. Then the strategy phase. The players resolve this phase by playing their strategy cards one at a time, alternating back and forth between them. The first one plays a card, then his opponent plays one. The American player always goes first unless he chooses to let the British player do so. Exception: if the British player has a major campaign or minor campaign event strategy card and plays it as his first card of the strategy phase, he gets to go first. Each strategy card played allows a player to move a general and his combat units, place PC markers, bring reinforcements into play, or cause an event to occur. A player can choose to discard an event strategy card instead of playing it. The instructions printed on a discard event strategy card are ignored. Exception: the event strategy cards cannot be discarded. So, with those few lines there, it did start a revolution, and the CDG was born. Like Mark Herman says, he wasn't looking out to design a CDG when he designed this. He was looking for a mechanic to make the game easier, get rules in the game without incorporating a lot of rules within a rule book. And as we can see here, there are not a lot of rules to it. It is a fairly simple game. It's a simple game. 12 pages of rules, right? Back page is nothing but index, okay? And then you got, how many sections? 12 sections of rules, including winning the game. That is pretty lot. And it was just phenomenal game. And the next game in the system was Hannibal, Rome versus Carthage. It wasn't done by Mr. Mark Herman, and they did something shocking within that. They made the event cards and the ops cards incorporate onto the same card. You had either operations card or events cards here, right? You see some of those numbers for your ops cards, and then you see some of those event cards, right? They were different cards. Well, Hannibal, Rome versus Carthage put them together, and that was evolutionary in itself as well. Evolutionary and revolutionary in the sense that it pushed the card-driven game genre on. And let me say this about card-driven game. That right there, for the people, this game, it's in my top 5 favorite games of all time. Probably always will be. As you can see here, how we've gotten so used to the event and the ops on there, right? That's a Yankee ops. That's a Confederate or a Yankee ops points. Not ops. Two ops. It's a Yankee event card. It's a Yankee or a Confederate event card. That is a same thing there. Yankee or Confederate event card. No, it's a Yankee event card there. Confederate event cards. Yankee event, right? So this is what we look at those terrible sleeves. Put them in those magic sleeves. That wasn't me who did that, by the way, but I leave them in there. But this was one of my favorite games, point to point, and that was one of the a lot of these old time grogs still do have a hard time getting their mind around the card driven game, right? They like to do their stuff, and they like to be able to do what they want to do when they want to do it. And the card driven game doesn't let you do that, right? You can do one of these events, right? If you have a hand of cards, one of these events at a time. Why can't you do both at the same time or whatnot, right? So, but that is very, That is very historical, because if you are it's very historical from a strategic point of view, because if you're running the war, you might not have the money to put into this and this at this time, right? So and the games continued. They continued to be great games until really one of my greatest games of all time, maybe my favorite game of all time, Twilight Struggle. It came in, and again, this took board gaming by storm, really, right? Just because it was the #1 game on BGG for the longest time, right? See, there you go. That's a mid-war deck. It had early, mid, and late war decks, right? So there's your ops points. There's your communist card or your Soviet card, right? Red star, white star, as should be in a Cold War game. And this again, just totally, all these card-driven games just became some of my favorite games, believe it or not. I know I don't talk a lot about card-driven games, but they are some of my favorite games, as well as, what else would I say? Washington's War, another good game. It is, I don't have it out here right now. It is a derivation of We the People, right? But it's a different game. He cleaned it up. He made it better. He made it a fast-playing game. A good tournament game was what a Washington's War is. And then there was people saying, well, there's not hexes. Well, then Mark Herman turns around and does, what's the Empire of the Sun. Thank you very much. Some people say that's the greatest game in the card-driven system. Empire of the Sun, you had hexes, you had a lot of different stuff. But to me, still this one is the class of it. For the People is the class of the CDGs, in my opinion. But oh boy, how great it is. This was one of the last games put out by Babylon Hell in 198. So yeah. So a lot of people think that it's something special, but here's what I find about war games in general. When somebody comes up, that must be a spirit touching the camera. Some people come up with ideas and innovations. Most of the time, they're not looking to be innovative. They're looking to get their game done in a certain way. They're looking how to put rules into it. They're looking on these certain things. So I've talked to a couple people that I thought were really innovative, and it wasn't like they were trying to do anything revolutionary. It just happened that way. And the same with the card-driven system with Mr. Mark Herman. It's not magic. It wasn't magic. It wasn't esoteric. And it wasn't witchcraft. And by the way, neither is that. But we'll say goodbye anyway. It's not witchcraft. It's just a lot of hard work. So, remember, when you're playing these games, most of the time, people didn't come up with something evolutionary right away. It was just came out of hard work and a lot of dealing with game design, right? I think that a lot of people want to design games and think of themselves as, hey, if I want to design a game, I want to think of something revolutionary. Well, very few of us are going to do that. And when we do, most of the time we're going to fumble on it by accident, not by trying to make something revolutionary, right? That's just how it works a lot of times. And by the way, even though the idea of the card-driven game was a revolutionary thing, the ops and event on the same card was a big evolution. Just the evolution of the whole thing, right? Taking away the battle deck, all of that was a small parts of it. And that was a collective effort, if you will. So sure, Mark Herman gets all the due credit for being the father of the card-driven game, wargame. Yet, I do think that a lot of other people could take credit for parts of that game, and that's all I want to say. If you want to get into design, if you want to start to design, put your nose down to the grindstone, Look at a system that you can wrap your head around and try that. And don't try. You don't have to try to be revolutionary. You just good hard work, and sometimes it comes by accident. All right, people. That's all I gotta say to you. Again, not magic, not witchcraft, and neither is this stupid thing. I can't get it to work. Someone has any ideas on getting this thing to work? Well, then give them to me. Well, maybe if I don't break this. Oh boy. Maybe it was an evil spirit knocked that out. Well, goodbye. Y'all have a great day. Talk to you soon.